excited for this. I should probably turn that down. It seems pretty loud, doesn't it? Does that seem loud?
No.
No? Okay.
It's good.
Okay. All right, so I'm excited for this. It's been a long time coming. I've been looking forward to this for a while. And we've been moving towards this for a long time with our church. And as we have been meeting in life groups, that I'm just doing a real quick look, and I think everybody here is in a life group. So we've been going through this book, through this discipling book, and it's sort of given us a ballpark. I guess there's some that aren't in life groups yet, but this is what we've been going through, just sort of helping get a picture of what discipling looks like. And so I encourage people to do that, and as more people come along and that might express interest in discipling, then that's just a great place to start. But we've been looking towards this for a long time, and it's actually, if you remember, it's one of our 3 legs of our mission statement. We exist to glorify God, equip believers, and make disciples. And in involving ourselves in discipling relationships, that's what we're doing. Now that also happens in life groups, it happens in Sunday school classes and coming together, for biblical preaching and teaching. But for me, throughout my time of spiritual journey, there's 3 primary things that God has used for my spiritual growth. First and foremost is just my daily time in the scriptures. That just making sure that's a regular time for me to do that. And we studied, we mentioned a study a couple months back about the power of doing that daily. If you're in the scriptures 1, 2, or 3 times a week, there's really not much impact. Studies and statistics show that it has on your life. But as soon as you go to 4 or more, then the numbers just shoot through the roof as far as how it begins to shape you and transform you. And so that's number 1. But close behind that is discipling. I've had one-on-one discipling relationships. I've been in what are called triads, and we have some triads here amongst our people here. And those have been just incredibly formative for me in helping me grow as a follower of Christ. I've grown both as a disciple when someone is mentoring me, as well as when I've been the discipler mentoring somebody. But then there's also, I've been in groups where it's more peer-to-peer. And all 3 of those have great benefits. And then the third is just sitting under solid biblical teaching and preaching. Those are the 3 things that God has used in my life. But I'm excited as we embark in this a new step forward for us as a church. And so let me ask, just by show of hands, for how many of you is this your sort of first dalliance or first experience with discipling relationships, being in a discipling relationship? Okay, so a fair number of you, all right? And let me ask you this, a little feedback. How are you feeling about that? What are your feelings or emotions about that right now? You're excited? Okay, great.
I'm excited, but worried that I won't be able to keep up
Okay.
my end of the deal.
Okay.
So to speak.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Does anybody feel a little bit intimidated by what's coming? Yeah? Okay. Anybody feel overwhelmed by it? A little bit? Okay. Those are honest feelings, and those are good. And my hope is, one of my purposes for this time this morning is to help try to alleviate some of those and just lay out, this is what it looks like. Okay? So you'll notice there has been and there will be a whole lot of flexibility in what you're going to do with your partner. And so, like when we first started this, we started with the life groups that are going through that book, and we just said, hey, are there people that, if you were to do this, people you would have in mind and what that looks like? Or so then we got lists, and then there was overlap, and so we just tried to facilitate as best we could, and then we suggested. would you be interested in this? And would that person be interested, back and forth? And so we just did our best to facilitate that. And and really that part was flexible, but also moving forward, this is all about you and what you guys are going to decide. You guys are going to decide how often you meet. Right? There's no necessarily specific thing, a formula to follow. So you're going to decide how often you meet. You could meet weekly. I'm doing that with one of my disciple partners right now, and then there's another one that I'm meeting every other week. And so I would recommend not doing it fewer than twice a month, if possible. And so your time, how often you meet is up to you guys when you get together with your group. You might have some group that said, let's try every week, and others will see it's going to be tough to do 2 times a month, but let's try that, and you'll figure that out. And so then you'll have flexibility when you meet. Are you going to be morning people? Are you going to be evening? Some of you might have lunchtime flexibility or something like that. You're going to have flexibility. Excuse me. About where you meet. You can come meet here at the church. You can meet at a restaurant. You can meet in someone's home. You can have flexibility also in what you're going to talk about. And so these books, this is a series that the Navigators put out, and there's actually 7 books in the series. And I've used this book many, many times in the books in the series. And I find it's basic for people, for those that are coming along and newer in the faith, or for people that have been in the faith for a long time, but they're not really necessarily biblically grounded. So we've purchased one of these for everybody that wants one. We're not saying you have to do this. We're saying if you want to do this, we'll provide the book for you. And then you and your partner, you'll decide, hey, do we want to do this? Or do we have something else in mind? And we're also working, the elders and I, about acquiring a new source of resources that we'll make available to everybody in the church, possibly, but that's still yet to come. But so all I ask then is, if you decide not to do this with your partner, then just give us the books back so we can use for other discipling relationships down the road. And so this book has 4 chapters, and each chapter is broken down into smaller sections. But when you're done with this, there's 6 more books in the series, and so, or you can finish this one and say, let's try something else, or you can say, let's order the next one, and then whatever you decide, then that next one will be on you guys. Okay, so we're going to provide this first one for everybody.
Pastor, do you know when that resource, do you know when that would be available? Are we moving on that pretty quickly?
Well, at our next elder meeting, we're having the Zoom meeting with the lady.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And then, if we decide to move forward, we'll have it that day or the next day. So it'll be real quick.
Okay. Cool.
Basically, it's a resource that has thousands of teaching videos for life groups, for small groups, for discipleship, for kids ministries, and so we're excited about this possibility and how it can provide for our church. So the intent of our time this morning is to show you what a typical meeting can look like, not necessarily what it should look like. And we're going to look at and see that there's similarities that all different kinds of relationships are going to have, and there's going to be differences that relationships are going to have. And so while we talk about what a typical meeting looks like, we have to start with this truth. There's no such thing as a typical meeting. Seems contradictory, right? But there's a give and take. It's the essence of your time is going to be, everybody will say, okay, that's a discipleship relationship. But the intricacies, the details, the nuts and bolts of it is going to look different for each group. And that's fine, because we're not all the same, are we? We're all very different people. So why do you think, and I just sort of said a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about, what are some of the things that will keep every group from just being a rubber print or a rubber stamp of every other group? What will make groups different? Where they are in their walk, right? Yeah. So you might have two people that are newer in the faith, some people that have walked with the Lord for 50 years. You might have a mixture of both. Yeah. Somebody else?
How much you know the other person.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. And then you'll take a while to earn trust and respect and those kind of things. What else? Personality is huge, isn't it? How you learn. People learn differently, don't they? Life circumstances will be different. If you have two people in retirement or two people that are new parents, or people that are empty nesters, there's life circumstances will make things different. So there's all different kinds of things. And one of the other ones, obviously, is that you might all be doing different material, just covering over and studying different things. But all that being said, there are, like I said, certain things that are just going to be the same. And so let's talk about that. And so I'm going to call this purpose and goals of life groups. And as we start this, I want to start by looking at that from the negative side, in the sense of the first four things I think I have here. These are things that are not goals or purposes of a life group, or a discipleship group. All right. The first goal the goal is not to reminisce about old times and the way things were. If you know the person really well, right, you might have a tendency to do that and just, you remember when we, such and such, and let's see, who was there? What was that guy's name? Remember? And you go on and on and on and whatever, and then you would tell the story and all that kind of thing, and then it's like, that reminds me, I went and did this, and before you know it, almost all your time's gone if you just get off on these trails. Now, those aren't bad, right? It's good to reminisce and to catch up with people, but maybe there's a better time and a place for that. And so that's one, as far as telling stories and those kind of things. But the other side is, if you have a story like that pertains to what you're talking about, then tell that story for sure. Maybe it needs to be whittled down a little bit, or whatever. But if there's a point to it, as far as how it applies to what we're talking about, or something like that, then go for it and tell that. But the other part is, there is time at the beginning of the meeting to catch up with people, and so where it's just lighthearted and it's just, hey, how you doing? What's your week been like? What's happened since the last time we met? Tell me something good that's happened in your life. What's been a struggle for you, right? Or you might remember something from the previous week, from the previous time. Hey, how's that going? Right? So those kind of things where you're just going to catch up and to Dar's point, get to know the person. That some of you, that might be a very strong part of your group. And so there's times for those kind of stories, but that might be outside of the group. Maybe it's like, hey, let's get together for coffee sometime and then just hang out. That's a great time to tell a reminiscing story. Or to, hey, I got this tree I need to knock over in the yard. You want to come help me? And that's a great time, those kind of things. Because this is a time, from the definition in discipling, is discipling is deliberately doing spiritual good to somebody to help them grow closer to Christ. Deliberately doing spiritual good to help someone grow closer to Christ. And so that's the purpose of our meeting together, not necessarily, again, just reminiscing. Getting to know one another, yes, that's great. So that's the first negative side. The second one is, the goal for your meeting time is not to get through this book. It's not just to get through this book. It's not just, hey, let's crank this out. Right? I bet, there's 4 chapters. I bet we can do that in 2 meetings. No, that's not the purpose of this, right? when I met with people over the years, is that I found there were times where, like I said, there's 4 chapters, and each chapter is broken into little sections. Like here in chapter 1, there's 6 questions in the first section, and then, similar number for the second section. There were times where I'd get through a section with somebody, and we would have good discussion time on all that. There were times where I got through 1 question with somebody, and we found that we really need to hammer down here a little bit more, and it took us on rabbit trails of questions related to that topic or something like that, or someone saying, the guy, saying, I'm really struggling with this, and something that was me saying that. I'm really trying to figure out how this applies to my life, how to put this into practice. And so we just have conversation and talk and learn from one another and grow together. And so the purpose is not to get through this. Now, there will be times, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit more formally or extensively. There will be times when it is clear that you're not going to open this book at all when you get together. Because so-and-so is going to come in and say, man, this is just, I got to tell you what's been happening. And then that person just unloads on you and vents to you. And you're listening to them. And there are times where you're the venter, where you got to say, I just got to deal with this. Will you help me through this? Will you help me figure this out? And that is awesome, right? Because the goal is not to get through this book. Now, ultimately, we want to get through the book because there's good material here. But our goal is to come together, one follower of Jesus coming alongside another follower of Jesus, and learning to grow. We're supporting one another. We're encouraging one another. We're listening to one another. And so that's a huge thing. If we take the pressure off of, we got to get through this, or Pastor Gray's going to nail us to the wall, right? Maybe the second time around, maybe, but not this first one. Then he's like, you're setting your pace. That might be another way that groups might differ, is that one group is, making, just time goes better or whatever it is, what I'm saying, or other people are slower in processing. That's fine. A third thing, the goal is not to unload on the other person all of your problems. Now, going back to what I just said, sometimes that's going to happen, and that's okay. Right? You just got to talk to a trusted friend who has a Christian perspective. You need to talk to somebody that's not your spouse or something like that. You need an outside perspective or something, and that's fine. But we can't view this as just like, oh man, this group is so therapeutic for me that it's just my own personal counseling session, right? If you have struggles like that, if you have things like that, then you can come talk to a pastor or to an elder or something. But as you share and unload with the other person from time to time, that's fine. It's going to happen. But that's not the goal for that, because we want to be available for each other and not take advantage of the other person either, because that's possible. That's something that can happen, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. And then the last negative side of this is that the goal is not to try to fit an image of fill an image of what you think a disciple looks like. Right? Don't put on fronts. Don't try to be more mature than you think you really are, or try to fill a position or anything like that. Just be yourself. Be humble. Be transparent. Be real. Just be yourself. You don't have to come and have all the answers. It's fine to come and say, man, this lesson killed me. I don't really know what's going on here. Right? But I need to talk about this more. We need to really hang out on this question a lot, because I really wrestling with that. That's fine. That's awesome. That's where growth happens. And so don't think you have to know all the answers. Like, you might look up, a lot of the questions in these books are, according to this verse, what is, such and such, right? And you can look up in the verse and you can say, okay, that's what it says, and then you write that down. But then you might think, okay, what? So what? you might struggle with the application of that. And be vocal about that and say, hey, what's so important about this? I don't get that. I don't see how that ties into something. So just be yourself and be real and genuine, and growth will foster in that kind of setting. So those are the four sort of negative sides, negative ways of looking at this. So let's turn and look at the positive ways for this, or things that help us understand what this group looks like. First is just remember and understand the basic focus here. So this is just boiling it down to its simplest ingredients. You have one follower of Jesus coming together with another follower of Jesus, meeting together, and learning how to follow Jesus together. Learning how to better ourselves in a relationship with somebody else that's pursuing Christ. And so another way to look at it, a couple phrases, is you're going to walk alongside somebody on their journey as they walk alongside you on your journey. Right? That's what discipling is. It's not this this huge educational presentation of truth, and it's not a lecture. It's not anything like that. It's, hey, I'm following Jesus and I need help, and the other person's saying the same thing. And so that's one way to look at it. Another one is doing life together. I like that phrase a lot, is we're doing life together. And so I wrestle with this one some, in that, Devers and other discipleship books I've read, they talk about how, you've, like I'm in a discipling relationship with Nate, and, they would recommend, so call Nate up when you need to go run some errands. That seems really foreign to me. It seems, there might be times where something like that happens, like, hey Nate, I'm doing this project, I don't know what tools to get at the store, will you help me figure that out, let's meet at Home Depot or something like that. Or Nate, actually this happened. Nate, I need help putting up the fence in the backyard, and so he came and helped with that, so that I get, but and maybe for the women it might be more natural to say, hey, let's go run some errands together. I don't know, but either way is we're doing life together, so that when I come to group with a problem, I'm sharing my life with that person. I'm sharing my life with that person, and vice versa. And so we are getting involved in each person's life. And then that's going to lead to intimacy. It's going to lead to connection. It's going to lead to acts of service. It's going to lead to reaching out to the other person, and all kinds of things. So it's a pretty cool thing, I think. And so doing life together, coming together and say, hey, what's up? What's on your mind? What's been going on? I can tell there's something going on. You're really quiet today. Let's set this aside for a minute and see if we need to talk about something. Okay? And then, as Deaver points out, his definition again is deliberately doing spiritual good to someone so that he or she will be more like Christ. Now I want to focus on two words in that definition that he uses. The first word is deliberately. Deliberately. That when I come to my group, when I come to my relationship meeting, I'm coming with the mindset of, how can I improve or do good to this person? What can I do to deliberately do spiritual good for this person? Right? And so it helps us to be intentional. It helps us to think through, what does the other person need, versus thinking, what do I need? What can I get out of this? So it's a selflessness aspect to it. So deliberately doing spiritual good. The second word is spiritual. Deliberately doing spiritual good to someone else. We might think of getting together and sharing recipes. And that improves the other person. Yeah, that's nice, but that's not necessarily the purpose of this group. Is I want to do spiritual good to somebody. I want to help them grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ. And so So there will be lots of different ways that looks like, and we'll talk about those here as we go on. So another way to look at this is to have someone to invest in you, and you are investing in someone. Right? Our pursuit of spiritual health and maturity through Jesus was never meant to be alone. It was never meant to be alone. We were not meant to be Lone Ranger Christians. And I think that doesn't just refer to, okay, I go to church, so therefore I'm not alone. You know, that's a big part of it for sure. But I think it also means, you know, the more intimate the connection that we can have with somebody, the more healthy or the more progress that we can make in our spiritual journey. You can come together and you can meet with people on a Sunday morning, but you can't get to the same level of intimacy that you do when you meet with one person over and over again over a prolonged period of time. And so when you're doing that, what are some of the things that you think would be the consequences or the effects of meeting together with somebody over a long period of time?
Part of each other's lives.
Yep. Become part of each other's lives.
Always count on them.
You can count on them. You found someone that's trustworthy. Yep.
It's easy to share because of that relationship.
Yeah, and then as your intimacy grows and your trust grows, then you find somebody that you know you can share things, and they're going to hold them in confidentiality, right? And they're going to listen to you. They're going to be empathetic to you. So there's lots of benefits there. And as I'm investing in somebody and they're investing in me, you know, the proverb that we know well, Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. That in that process of meeting together with someone over a long period of time, that we begin to, the Lord uses us to sort of whittle away the rough edges, to whittle away the parts that really shouldn't be there. And as you know, if you ever worked with metal or anything like that, you know, you don't just rub it together once and it's perfect. It happens over time, in a prolonged period of time. And so as we're meeting together on a regular basis with somebody, then we're going to start to notice, like I said, for me, this has been one of the greatest tools that the Lord has used in my life. And we're going to notice that we will begin to change because of the input and investment that the other person's making in me, and vice versa. Feel free also, I should say this at the beginning, if you have questions at any time, just feel free to ask me. And just pause. There's nothing, I'm not on any schedule that way. So, another goal here is to teach and to learn. To teach and to learn. This might be one of those areas where you're like, yeah, that's the part I'm really uncomfortable about, the idea of teaching somebody else. Anybody have a little nervousness about that? A little bit, yeah, shaking the heads for sure. So that's natural, it's normal, right? But I want you to think of it from different perspectives here. So when I was the discipler, when I was in the role of the discipler, teaching or leading a disciple, even as the discipler, I was learning a great deal, right? You know, I've always loved the idea is that if you really want to learn something, teach it, right? That's really where it sort of kicks in. But, you know, we're not necessarily teaching, you know, it's not a lecture, it's not I'm coming with all the answers or anything like that. But we're teaching from our own life experiences that the other person has not had. You can say, oh yeah, this verse really spoke to me. Let me tell you why. You're teaching that person how the Holy Spirit's working in your life. You're teaching that person in that perspective. And so this is not necessarily, no, that's not quite how I'd answer this. This, I think, is a better way to word it. That's not the kind of teaching that we're talking about here. This is just life teaching, life experience, one-on-one. Excuse me, and in the same way, that other person, if they understand just these roles, they're going to be doing the same to you, and you're going to be learning from that other person, from their life experiences, and they might say, this is what I got out of that verse, and you're like, oh, I never thought of it from that perspective. That's a great way. Actually, like your way better than, what I got out of it for myself. I think yours is probably more right on or something like that. But it's a very informal teaching and learning, but it goes both ways. And so you can teach. You are a teacher in some aspects, right? You may not have the gift of teaching, and you may not necessarily stand in front of a class and teach, and that's fine. But we're all teaching other people all the time, anyways, whether we realize it or not. And we're teaching some we're showing the negative examples, and people are learning from us that way. But other times, we're just living our life before somebody, and people are watching us and learning from that. And so as we're learning, then obviously, to really be able to learn, we have to be humble, don't we? We cannot come into group thinking, I don't really know what I'm going to get from this other guy. Some people might feel that way. That's a recipe for a disaster. And so we have to be really careful, especially if Stephanie brought up the life circumstances or different stages of life, or on the spiritual journey. And so if you've been in every Sunday school class your entire life, you never miss, and you've read through the Bible 6 times, and you have a lot of spiritual knowledge, the goal here is not for you to come in and just vomit spiritual truth on this dude. You need to come in and say, I only have this because God's given it to me. This guy has experiences that I don't have. The Holy Spirit can use him to speak to me, and I need to be humble to receive that. That's who the Lord's looking for, is those that have humble hearts. So another goal is the importance of noticing each other. Noticing each other. This is a big one. There's nothing more demoralizing or tiring than always being the one that gets dumped on. That always is the one that says, hey, how's it going? And never have someone say to you, how's it going? Right? That's tough. That's a struggle. That is a one-way friendship. And those don't work. There really aren't many of those because people don't like to be in a one-way friendship. And so we have to develop the art of noticing. And so I'm going to put a video on here real quick, and it'll just help us look at videoing, or at noticing real quick, or the other person. Did that turn off? The
Projector?
projector?
Looks like
I think
it
it's
is.
off.
Yeah, I don't see a light on the back.
It is or is not?
I don't see a light on the back of it.
Looks, let's see on the table.
I can see the light blinking on the bottom,
Yeah.
little blue one.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Okay. Hold on a sec, I gotta turn the volume up.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13.
Can I get that?
Yep.
Yep.
But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Can the screen in the background. Yeah, that's the background. There he is. I'm not doing very well either.
He's right in the middle.
You came right through the middle all the time.
That was Bigfoot, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness, it's funny.
So we definitely need to learn the art of noticing, don't we? So,
I was trying to keep
so
Yeah.
we need to focus in on the cues that our partners are giving off, right? That may not be immediately visible to the eye, but we're learning to listen to the tone of their voice when you say, "Hey, how's it going?" "Okay." "Oh, great. We'll see you next week."
Yeah, right on.
Right? Like, okay, there seems something there. That seems like a half-truth there. Let's talk about that. So learning that is huge. Because too many times I've seen, I've witnessed, I've experienced the me monster. Where, you know, you come in, it's like, me. See you later. You know, never once is, how are you doing? You know, thanks for listening to me. I really appreciate that. What's going on in your life? And that one-sided relationship it does not work. And so we have to develop this art of listening with our eyes, listening by their body cues, listening to the stories that they're telling, remembering when someone says, you know, this week they share a prayer request or something going on in their life or something that's coming up that they are nervous about or something like that, remembering that and bringing it up the next time, or when you see them at church on Sunday, something like that. That's huge. Those are important things for us to do. And so sometimes, you know, how many of you, let's say this, if someone comes up to you on a Sunday morning and says, "How's it going?" and you share with them your deepest, darkest sin that you're struggling with. You're not really excited to do that in that kind of setting, right? Or maybe it's not your deepest, darkest sin, but maybe it's just an ongoing struggle that you're having in your marriage. You know, and maybe not feel that's the context in which to do that. So you say, I'm okay, whatever. So there's times where we need to gently sort of explore and prod out things that the other person may not be quite willing to share on a Sunday morning, or might even be hesitant to share in your one-on-ones. But slowly, over time, we learn to say, come on, you can trust me. I will listen. I will let you share. I'll let you vent. If you're interested, I might have some thoughts along the way that will help bring new perspective there. And so learning to remember that, and then following that up is like, hey, I know you had that conversation coming up with your boss, or with your boss. How did that go? And maybe you're not waiting until the next time that you meet, but you're asking them Sunday. Or if you knew that they're going to talk with their boss on Thursday, you're texting them Thursday night. How'd it go today? Right? And so that's a lot different than just casually connecting with people and forgetting about their problems and just focusing on self. And so learning to notice, and then just all of the dominoes that fall when we notice other people, when we notice their problems. Does it feel good to be remembered? Does it feel good to have someone care about you and demonstrate that? It absolutely does. There isn't a person in the world that doesn't want that. And so one of our goals is to develop that kind of relationship and intimacy with another person that's walking along with us. And we will get as much out of this group that way as we are through what we're studying in the scriptures, because the Holy Spirit will use us together. So those are some guiding principles for us to help us understand, the principle, the purpose of meeting together. So I want to pass these out, here. This is I'm calling it a discipleship covenant that I'm going to ask you to each consider signing. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not asking you to sign this in blood. I'm not asking you to make a copy of it so that I can have one in the church files. Right? This is just something for you. You guys have enough over here? Okay, I think there might be extras here.
Yeah, we got extra.
Okay. Yeah, this is just something for you, really, maybe even on your own, not necessarily with your partner or whatever, but this is what you're going to consider agreeing to. Now, none of these are written in stone, but let's just walk through this real quick. I agree to ensure that I am as personally prepared as I can be. Therefore, I commit to making church attendance a priority in my life because we understand that the preaching of the word is powerful. Fellowship with people is powerful. Going to our equipping classes is powerful. If you're not coming to a class, I encourage you to do so if you can. Right? So I'm doing that, but I'm also ensuring that I'm going to do the best of my ability to have daily devotional times throughout the week. Minimum of 4. I'm going to commit to do that for the benefit of the other people in my group. I shared this in our life group. So how many of you, if you were getting ready to go on a long flight, I have a friend that lives in Bangladesh, and I'm a seminary friend, he and his wife live there, and they just had a grandchild born in Spokane, Washington. And so his wife was embarking on a flight, and from door to door it was 33 hours.
Imagine sitting there.
But how would you feel getting on one of those legs of the journey with a pilot that you know has not been up to date in their training? And you know has not slept well for 3 weeks. And you know is sort of distracted because of what's going on at home. Do you feel very comfortable about that? Right? You want that pilot to be ready to give his best, to give his all, to bring all of his full study and preparation to bear on getting you from one point to the other safely. And so we have that same idea of, I want to come as best as I can to group. Now, there might be times where you've not had the opportunity to have a quiet time every day, or you've not had tons of time to do your lesson. I'm going to ask you, don't let that stop you from going. Still go to group, please, right? Don't let that be an excuse to I just can't do that this week. Still go, because you'll get a lot out of it. Second, I'm going to commit to making my time with so-and-so a priority, and therefore I'm going to commit to doing my best to give priority, when possible, to our discipling times together. Now, there are going to be times when things come up and you're like, I just can't make it. You know, it's like, I have to go to the emergency room, or, whatever, or the boss made me come in, for work, or something like that. But if there comes a time where you're choosing one thing or your discipling thing, if this other thing can be rearranged or avoided, or it's not something you absolutely have to be at, you're going to say, I'm going to lean towards choosing discipling more often than not. So I think you understand what I'm getting there, is that I want to, for the benefit of those that I'm asking to trust me, I want them to be able to, that I'm hoping to trust in, I'm asking them to trust me, that I'm going to do my best to be there. I'm committing to coming to our discipleship times. This is similar to up above. I just got to it a little early. So that means I'm going to have read the assignment in an unhurried kind of fashion. It's not like you're doing it while you're driving to the meeting at red lights. Spend some time on it. Think on it a little bit. Maybe add it to your regular devotion time. If you're reading through the scriptures in a year, hopefully many of you are doing that, then just, take 15 minutes, and add it to that to answer a couple of questions in the book. Maybe you need to take a half hour to an hour at night before you turn on the TV and you're gonna say, I'm gonna commit to getting this and giving it the right time. Recognize the importance of prayer in discipling relationships. And so I commit to, I'm gonna ask my discipling partner for prayer requests. I'm gonna write these prayer requests down. I have a prayer journal that I keep with different men that I meet with, and I will write the date down that a prayer request is given, and I will write out the prayer request in detail, and then I will go back and I'll pray for those things throughout the week. Maybe your prayer is, you're a morning prayer person. Maybe you're praying at night before you fall asleep. Maybe you're praying throughout the day. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But you're going to pray for that person in your partnership because you care for them. And then when those answers begin to happen, when those prayer requests seem to be, you're getting your answers, you're going to go back and you're make note of that, and you're going to celebrate God together. You're going to praise God together for what He's done. So I encourage you to get a prayer journal to keep for your discipleship partner. Here's a couple that I think are really important. I commit to being honest and transparent with my discipling partners. I'm going to share my struggles. I'm going to share my needs. I'm going to share my prayer requests. I'm not going to appear to be something I'm not. We don't want people to come in and say, I've got it all together, that I have no problems in life, right? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to say, I really don't want to be here today, if that's how you feel. Hopefully they sound every time, but yeah. Or I really struggled this week, whatever it may be, or I'm not really close to the Lord right now. Can you help me through that? So be honest there. The next one says, I commit to being gracious, patient, and understanding with my discipling partners. Look at that first thing there, that first bullet point. I will give the benefit of the doubt when needed and appropriate. I will seek to understand before seeking to be understood. As we are connecting with people and we're talking with people and we're learning to get to know them, we're going to find differences, different ways that we look at things. We're going to find different learning styles. Like your learning styles might not match up very easily. You're going to be patient. You're going to be understanding towards the other person. And that last one there, that last bullet point, this is to me one of a key part of discipling, is I give the other person permission to ask me tough questions. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are asking it from a place of love. Because as we are talking to one another, and we're going to, maybe you've worked with your partner to say, set up a goal. So maybe your partner says, I'm not really reading the Bible. And you say, okay, let's figure out how we can help with that. So, let's commit to this week reading a chapter a day. And then the next time you meet, you say, how'd it go? Yeah, I didn't really do it. You have permission, because your partner has given it to you, to say, come on now, you can do this. You can push on that person a little bit. You're doing it lovingly. You're doing it genuinely and kindly, but you're challenging the other person, right? And I'm giving that other person, the benefit of the doubt when they do that to me. I'm trusting that this guy wants what's good for me, because he's going to do deliberately do spiritual good in me, that he's committed to do that. And so does anybody benefit from time to time from a good swift kick to the rear end? That's sort of what that is like at times. Is just saying, come on, you can do this. You can do this. Let's try it again. Let's set a date for which we can, this goal for that or that, or maybe it's even a little bit harsher situation of, yeah, I don't know if that's right, a right behavior you should be engaging in. I've had to do that several times. I've had to do that several times. And you're saying, I don't think that's right. Can you see that? Can you see how that may not be God honoring? And it's led to great discussions, right? And it doesn't mean that they necessarily automatically just drop it, but it's something that you're checking in on. It's something that you're keeping up with in their life because you're iron and you're sharpening their iron over time. And then this last one is preeminent for over things is you're committing to keep the confidentiality of the other person in your group so that they can share with you their deepest, darkest secret, knowing that that's all the farther it's going. Right? You would want that. You're going to expect that from your partners, and so you're going to commit to that. And so if that reflects something that you're willing to do, I encourage you to sign that and date it, and then tuck it in your Bible. Put it on your refrigerator or on your mirror or something like that. Any questions about that? Okay. So looking at a specific meeting, let's break it down into time here a little bit, right? We're going to spend 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes at the beginning of our group time, just catching up. Hey, like I said, how's life been? What's new since the last time I saw you? How did those tests come out? Did you get the results back? You're going to spend time doing that. Maybe it's like, hey man, I saw this awesome movie. You got to go see it. Maybe it's like, hey, did you hear the one about the rabbi and the priest? Whatever. Whatever it is, you're going to just spend time just being together and just being people. And so I want to ask you, let's just do that now. So get with your partner and just spend 3-5 minutes or so talking to somebody else. And so if you, I know some people don't have someone here, so Dar, would you jump in with Sandy and Lynn, and John, would you turn around with these guys and just spend a few minutes talking? Yeah, hey, what's life going on? Let's see. Maybe the three of you, or no. You want to meet with your father-in-law? That'd probably be the easiest. Okay, let's do that.
That's great. Hey, Benjamin.
All right, so just spend a few minutes here. What's life like?